should have a really good crowd, unless the weather does, what the weather can do, but well, hopefully it'll be good weather. How are we doing on time? Are we ready to go? I don't mean to.
Yeah,
No.
have you heard the chimes yet? No.
I have heard.
Oh,
We have not heard the chimes, so it's not 7 o'clock.
That's right. My clock, my phone says 6:59.
I can't see everything. Is Leanne on here yet? Is our speaker here?
I believe she is. I just sent a text chat asking if that was her, who I
Okay.
think it is.
She
But I
probably
thought-
has a really cutesy name, like Spider Lady or
No, I think it's Elle Lawton.
Arachnid
Oh, wait.
Annie or something. No, I'm sorry.
They did used to call me Mozzie in my last job. If that counts.
Say that again. They used to call you what?
Mozzie.
Mozzie?
Mozzie,
Spell
like a
that.
mosquito. M-O-Z-Z-I. They
I
were
see.
Aussies.
Okay, well, I'm going to make you co-host because you're going to do your presentation. Is that correct?
Yep, if that's all right.
I heard the chime. Whenever you're ready, I'll be happy to introduce.
Sure.
Okay, well, that was the 7 o'clock bell we just heard.
Okay.
So the meeting is hereby convened. Welcome, everybody, to the monthly meeting of the Dallas Sierra Club. We start out, we had announcements going ahead of time. At this point, we go to our committee reports if we have any. So, John, if you had kind of an agenda.
I did, and I lost it. Hey, let me get it back. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, we'll look at this agenda as soon as John can bring it up, and we'll try to follow it.
Okay, just 1 second here.
No pressure, John. Just the whole club is waiting on you. No,
I
no
will.
pressure.
There we go. Okay. Ding. Sorry about that.
Here it comes. Okay, so we've already done our pre-meeting social gathering. I've done the introduction and welcome. We at this point would go to our committee reports. And has Victoria Howard signed in or not?
I have not seen her yet. No. So
Okay, has
Renee is here though.
I can give you a report on, the speakers we have lined up from our.
well, we're not quite ready for that yet.
Okay, you want eco action?
I want conservation eco action. And if Victoria is not here, her second in charge there is I've forgotten her name. Help me out.
Oh, Catherine.
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 I have not seen her yet. Unless she's hiding.
I've not seen Catherine yet.
The Goldies know everything.
Well, let's just move on then, and maybe one of them will show up. We'll move on to Wendell Withrow, who's going to talk about volunteers and fundraising.
No, let's
Oh,
go
wait.
back to upcoming programs is Renee. Renee's before me.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah,
Chair.
upcoming. All right, I missed that. Okay, Renee. now you-
Okay, it's very
Talk
quick.
about-
January, we have Dave Cortez, who's going to talk about, I saw, he's going to talk about the grid and other things and line up, what his plan is for our club for 2022. And then February, I've talked to Robert Kent rather. He is Public Land and Trust, and I'm asking him to bring Kathy Jack with him. They were both very instrumental in putting that park that is near South Oak Cliff High School. They would like to do something like that in trouble spots in all 14 districts. And it would be good to hear, how they have, they made a walk trail and, set up Wi-Fi in this park and everything. And this piece of land had tires dumped on it. It was terrible. And they managed to get it cleaned up, put in irrigation system, put in native plants, and made a 5-mile walk trail that starts right on Overton by South Oak Cliff High School and extends into West Dallas. And the plan is to try to do that in all 14 districts.
Okay, somebody has their sound on and they're making all kinds of noises.
No, I shut it down.
Okay, so unless you're going to speak, probably should just be muted, okay, everybody? Then we come to Wendell Withrow.
Hello, everybody. I figured John or Dan would mute me before I spoke, but I'll tell you what's been going on. A quick report: we had about 40 people at the holiday party on Sunday night. Everybody came with their mask on and kept them on, except when they were eating or at the last photo. But we had a great time. 40 people. The tables were socially distanced, and I think we were basically as safe as we could be. But it was really, 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 really good to see our people after after nearly 2 years. So that went well. The main thing we have on fundraising is, as I was mentioning, as we were sort of all warming up, is that Oak Cliff Earth Day will be April 3rd. As many of you know, the Dallas Sierra Club is a huge sponsor of Oak Cliff Earth Day. We have the biggest booth. We basically have a quadruple booth where we set up tents and tables to hand out information. And so we are hoping that Dallas Sierra Club will be a big sponsor again. The reason it has to do with fundraising is that we will be doing a specific fundraiser to help us with Oak Cliff Earth Day. And we will have a theme this year, which is environmental justice for all. So we'll have our usual musical acts. David Griggs will probably get us a Politico type person to tell us how great a job they're doing. And then, but in between, we're going to have speakers talking about environmental justice and how we are, our own people are battling the polluters on the front line. And we will have some of those speakers throughout the day on April 3rd. But be watching for an ask. We'll be asking for financial support to help us make that Oak Cliff Earth Day the best ever, especially because Renee asked me, we are 99% sure that EarthX will not be doing the State Fair of Texas Earth Day celebration. And so they will maybe doing something else. They'll probably be doing something on TV. But as far as in person, this is an opportunity for the Dallas Sierra Club and all Oak Cliff Earth Day to become the Earth Day celebration in the month of April. So that is very, very exciting for all of us. So be ready to open up your pocketbook and make a contribution so that Dallas Sierra Club can retain its premier spot in the event. And Dan, I think that's all I have.
Okay, before I forget, I wanted to mention, Renee said that our speaker in January will be Dave Cortez. It is January, right, Renee?
Yes.
For those of you who don't know who Dave Cortez is, he's the newly appointed director of the Lone Star chapter of the Sierra Club, which is, the big state organization where they have the paid employees. So y'all, that might be very interesting to hear his viewpoint on where he's going to take, or where he hopes to take, the Lone Star chapter of the Sierra Club. Okay.
Hey,
I don't
Dan,
imagine. Hello?
Yeah, this is John. I was going to add to that. The state chapter, they've been really very active in a lot of environmental related activities that are
I would
going on
hope
right
so.
now. Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been talking to them quite frequently. And they are right now trying to raise funds in order to continue some of the actions that they're doing with the TCEQ, the EPA, and other entities. So if anybody has a few coins to send to the Lone Star, do so, as well as to our own group. Thank you.
Okay, do you get a cut on that, John?
Only 10%. Thank you.
10%, okay, that's fair.
No.
I know, I think they all know I'm kidding. I hope, if not, I'm kidding. Now, is David Griggs present? Is that a no, John? No, David
I'm sorry.
Griggs?
No, I have not seen David yet.
It'd be nice if our committee chair people would come to these general meetings.
Hey, Dan.
Yes,
He has a conflicting meeting going on at exactly the same time, so he may join us later. But no, he was double booked, not through his own doing, but I talked to him this afternoon. He said he would come on as soon as he finished his other 7 o'clock meeting.
okay, well, it would be helpful if people, well, I guess that's too much to ask. Never mind. I see that Liz Whelan is here.
Hey, everybody.
Liz, you want to say anything about ICO
Love
or
to.
about training for ICO?
For ICO is our outreach program, Inspiring Connections Outdoors. And I want to thank the people I have 3 people that were at the holiday party that gave me a contribution toward our program, which is delightful. If anyone just is having a really hard time not knowing what to give the person that has everything for Christmas and want to make a little donation and have me send them a card to let them know it was made in their honor, I'd be happy to do that if you want to get a hold of me. My contact information is on the club website. We're hoping to get things started up again in the spring. We'll be looking for the new kids to work with, but how many kids we can work with will depend on the volunteers. So I'm still looking to encourage anyone that's interested in working. This is mostly a Saturday. It's not a huge commitment. It's just the ones you sign up for, the ones that are convenient to you. We basically work and do the outings with these kids, and the idea is to just get them off the cement and into nature. So we take them out on a simple little day trip. But we need volunteers to go along with the leaders. And so if you're at all interested, let me know. I'll be doing a training for volunteers. I'm hoping to do it in February so that we can then get started with the kiddos again in March as the weather gets better. So if you're interested, let me know, because how many volunteers we have will dictate how many, what kids we can work with. So that's it for I'm sorry.
When you find out when your training is going to be, where and what day and what time, can you post that on our website?
Actually, it's by invitation of the people that contact me. It's not so much for just to show up. I usually talk to them ahead of time, but I'll keep people posted. And I'll be putting things on, seeking for volunteers. Absolutely. It's not a secret. It's just, I just want to talk to them. A lot of times people are interested, but don't quite understand what we do or how we do it or what their comfort level it is. Or in the spring, I get a lot of kids that are seniors in high school that'll contact me, and they just need service hours and want to go on one outing. And we're looking for more long-term commitment than that. So anyway, but yes, I'll keep everybody in touch. And I have an email that I can send people if you want to let me know you're interested, and I can keep you updated and in the loop. That'd be wonderful. And as far as outdoors, do you want me to go ahead as far as our outings?
Yeah, well, and Mark is present,
Is
so
Mark
he
here?
might want to say something about.
Absolutely,
about
Mark, go for it. I'm sorry, I didn't see your name. Go for it.
Yeah. Good news about the Big Bend trip is we've sold out. That's the bad news about it too, but it's modulated by good news that we typically have a few cancellations and we're maintaining a wait list. So if you hurry up and apply quickly, chances are good that you can get on one of our 3 trip options at Big Bend in February. That's the 9th to the 13th. We're also doing an outdoor leader training program at Eisenhower State Park on January 22nd and 23rd. And if you're interested in being an outdoor leader, the contacts to call, that's Liz or me right now, are online on the calendar or on the outings list. We only do a live outdoor leader training course about every 2 years. So if you're interested at all, this is the time to contact us.
Yeah. And please contact ahead of time. This is not just to show up or decide the night before. This is something you sign up for pretty much at least a month ahead, because we have to make plans and schedule or just modify the training. And we also have survey and information that we need from you.
And what's the date again?
The outdoor leader training is January 22nd and 23rd. That's a Saturday and a Sunday. Will be done by noon on Sunday.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Liz. I'm going to assume that Victoria or Catherine, neither one of them have checked in at this point. Is that right, John?
That's correct. I haven't seen them.
Well, unfortunately, tonight we will not have a report then from the Conservation/Eco Action Committee. And at this point, I think we're ready to introduce our speaker and turn the speaker loose.
Okay, if I can do the introductions. The speaker for tonight is Ms. Leanne Lawton. Her presentation is about insects and arthropods. And I have to admit, I've never met anyone with a master's in entomology, yet she has one. She is a Texas A&M graduate from Stephen F. Austin. And most of having that level of a degree puts you outside a lot. So a lot of her coursework was done outside. She spent a lot of work outside. She's also part of Diseases in Nature, which is a conference, James Steele Diseases in Nature. And if you ever attend that conference, you will get so much information. She is one of the presenters for that. So without further ado, I'd like her to start and entertain us.
Thank you. I'll see if I can work this out. All right. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for having me. I do like working outside. I expect everybody here does as well. So I'm just going to talk about what you might find outside this season. Unfortunately, it's winter, so hopefully it's a long enough presentation for you guys, but there isn't a lot of activity when the weather goes down or cooler. But we'll start back in the beginning. Arthropods is our biggest group of invertebrates that we've come across. So there's over 800,000 described species of arthropods worldwide. Excuse me, some papers will estimate about 1.3 million species out there. Again, it's 800 described that we know of. A few classes that we'll be looking at are the arachnids, our insects, of course, favorites, and the centipedes and millipedes, Chilopoda and Diplopoda. Insects are the most successful group of arthropods, with over 80% of the arthropods are insects. And shockingly, it's not the ants that are the highest number there. It's the beetles. Beetles have the most species. So 91% or 91,000 described species of insects here in America. And there are 3,600 species found in the Big Bend area. So just maybe make a list when y'all go to your park over there. So what are you gonna encounter outside this winter or any winter? Here in Texas, it doesn't get too cold. I say that living through the ice storm of last year, but normally we don't get those huge storms, and a lot of our insects and arthropods are actually just have a continuous cycle. They don't go through a few diapause or hibernation states. So insects and arthropods are dependent on the surrounding environment's temperatures and the stresses that go along with those temperatures. So if it's too cold, they're going to be cold. They're going to be little ice blocks. The higher the temperature, the faster the metabolism, the faster the metamorphosis, and the more insect activity. So when you have a nice sunny, bright day, their metabolism is going to go quickly. They're going to continue through their metamorphoses, and there are going to be more insects out. There's going to be more flowering plants that are active to act as a food source. A lot of insects use pollen and nectar as metabolic energy. And then, of course, on the other side, the lower the temperatures, the drier the air, the less flowering plants are around. So there's not a lot of insect activity. That's when they go into these hibernation, these diapause states. So temperatures change, pressures change. They can tell in an air when a storm's about to come in with the air pressures, and so they start to prepare for survival. So there might be little mating balls of flies over water areas, or insects just start to den. So how do they survive the winter? I was reading about some stuff the other day, and I found some really interesting, new to me information. But we'll go through all of it, hopefully, as well as I can. I won't be an expert in this antifreeze stuff. Chemistry wasn't my strong suit back then. But the overwintering stages, during their diapause or their hibernation stages, they'll choose their strongest life stage. So they'll have an egg stage, a larval stage, pupal stage, or adult. Most insects do try to overwinter as an adult. They just kind of hole up, and luckily there's a lot of human structures around, and they just try to cozy up to y'all or us and make do that way. A lot of insects will go into these breeding balls, if you will, and then lay their eggs and hope their eggs are going to survive through the winter, and that's how they'll survive overwintering. A lot of butterflies and moths will choose a larval or a pupal stage. You can see cocoons and stuff around. Another technique of survival is migration. So the big, we all know the monarch migration from southern Canada down to Mexico City. That's a big thing. Very interesting, probably one of the most studied insects out there. We do have freeze avoidance. That's mostly here in our North American insects. They're very, I don't know what the term, hydro aware with their water. Insects have a waxy chitinous exoskeleton, and it helps them keep this water inside that they need. But when they're about to freeze, if there's a storm, if there's a cold front coming, they can expel all that water and debris so that ice doesn't form, and they're able to stay in this stage for a short term. And then they'll be able to hop back out once the weather turns nice. And luckily here in Texas, we don't have long cold spells, if you will, normally. They also produce a protein that acts like an antifreeze, which I thought was really cool. So they make more of this protein, and it builds up like a glycerol-esque type thing, and then it acts like an antifreeze. And then in the southern hemisphere, they do a freeze tolerance, where they actually initiate freezing inside of their bodies before a big freeze comes. Like the woolly bears will do this, which is the larval form of a tiger moth. So they do have very cool ways of adapting and surviving, and that's why they're probably scary animals to have around. So arthropods in the area here in Texas, here in the West Texas, Big Bend area is where I've kind of focused in on. You're always going to find an insect everywhere you go. Grasshopper is another orthopterans are going to be out almost year round. You can tell their color patterns where they usually kind of hang out. So this one's here on some green flowers, a hibiscus, if you will. You're always going to have ticks around. Unfortunately, they are a little bit more hardy in the colder weather. And you do see some of those guys pop up in wintertime. Tarantulas, that picture was taken a while back, but there is a picture later on from Dr. Funkin. Took it. He was just over in Big Bend, so they're still kind of running around, if you will. That's him in a defensive pose. And then my favorite here on the bottom, these guys, the Europidges, vinegaroons. They do find them over in Big Bend. So pick up some rocks. If you're going to, be careful. Never know what's under that. Could be this guy, and he will give you a fright. Just looking at him out of your nightmares, but perfectly harmless. No venom whatsoever. So we'll start here with our, can I change that? Yeah, I'll start here with our myriapods, Chilopoda or centipedes. The picture there on the bottom is one of our Texas redheads. It's a Scolopendra. So they're centipedes. They have one pair of legs per segment. So not 100 legs. They probably only have about, I don't know, 20 segments or so. But they are venomous. I meant not to scare you. They are venomous. They have their first pair of legs on the first segment of their body is morphed into, they're called maxillipeds, which is this forcipule. There's lots of big crossword puzzle answers for you today. Forcipules can inject venom in the prey. So there's a picture in the middle here. Can you see if my cursor is there? So these are the forcipules here. There is a venom gland right up top, and these toxins is histamine, serotonin, and an SS spooky toxin, which is pretty cool. Comes down and they're able to collect their prey this way. So they are hunters. They're built for hunting. They are long. They're flat. They've got a little bit of a defense mechanism moved in here. So they're Circe. This is their back end. This is their business end up here. Looks about the same. So if a bird comes in, if a predator comes down, they're going to probably go away from this red bit because that's danger. And they're going to try to head here. And if it's a small enough bird, this guy can pop around and that's his lunch. So centipedes are pretty cool. In the wintertime, what they're going to do is they're going to hang out in debris, logs, under rocks. They're going to try to get into your house. So if you do come across one, best thing to do with anything you don't want to touch, a little trash can, a little small trash can and a broom. That way you don't get hurt, she doesn't get hurt, and you can just toss it outside or toss it in some leaf debris outside. If you do end up getting tagged by these fun forcipules here, not medically significant usually. You could have a reaction to it. It's going to get hot. It's going to hurt. It's going to throb. It's going to turn red and it might swell a bit. A little ice pack could probably do. But you can go to the hospital if you feel like you need to. Our diplopods, our millipedes up here. These guys are pretty cool. They have 2 legs per segment. You can kind of see here. They are not hunters. They're a little bit more rounded here like this. So they just kind of truck around, feeding on decaying organic debris, anything that you might find in a log under a rock anyway. You'll find these guys. And they're pretty cool as well. So you can't really tell if that's the head or the head's down the other end. It's another way they survive. They do produce a repugnant fluid, a nasty little fluid made of hydrocyanic acid, iodine, and quinine. So it smells like ammonia. If you pick up one of these, if you have to pick up something in the wild, keep wild. I'm not telling anybody to pick anything up. But if you do have to choose to pick this up, your hands are gonna smell a little bit like ammonia. You might feel a little bit of a burn, but harmless. No venom other than this little bit of fluid. They overwinter as adults in protected areas. So you might find them under or around some like rocks and the fences and stuff like that. Definitely fallen trees. Those are good protected areas for these guys. And they just kind of hang out. All of them just kind of hang out together. There's a snail, like a big happy tree. I think this one is from Stephen F. Austin State Park. Here we go, back to the good stuff. Everybody loves these guys. Europyges, Amblypyges, Sulfugids. This guy up here on the top with his whip is aptly named the whip scorpion. None of these arthropods here are venomous. They do have claws of life up here that can snag you. No fluid associated with them, but on this guy here is the Thelaphonidae, has recently been split out of Europyges. And the Schizomyids, sorry. They're the short-tailed whip scorpions. So they're a little bit smaller. You tend not to really notice these guys. These guys get all the fun. The vinegaroons get all the fun media shots. So they were found in Big Bend, trucking around doing their thing. And there are a few articles about them being discovered over there. They're around. They do spray, hence the name vinegaroons. They do spray acetic acid, caprylic acid outside of this tail, the whip, and they're found around desert, arid Southwest areas. They're just really cool. They can move their palpi out, their claws, to get you. That's how they hunt their prey and they eat. And they'll overwinter as adults as well in debris. Your tailless whip scorpion, your whip spider, Amblypygids. Amblypygia apparently means blunt abdomen. That's this guy here. Might look familiar if you've got kids or just like Harry Potter books like myself. This one made it to the movies. So I think there's a Harry Potter movie that stars an Amblypygid. Long life, they can live for 5 to 10 years. They're usually in caves. It says tropical, subtropical areas. You'll find that in a cave, a little bit of a subtropical area. And with that, their eyesight's quite poor. And you'll have species that just don't have good eyesight at all. And this very first pair of legs, this really long, thin pair that kind of stick up and sticks out to the back, they come forward and they act as antennae. So that's kind of their sensory board, if you will. So they're very delicate. If you do see them, yeah, they're going to look really creepy. They have long legs. They're not really shown in this photo, but they're just living life, trying to get out, and they can tag you with their palps as well. But again, not venomous, no venom. So you just treat it as a scratch. The sun spider here at the bottom picture with the double mandibles, double chillers here, also called a wind scorpion and a sulfugid. So they get the names wind scorpion because they run like the wind. And by run like the wind, I mean they run about 1 mile an hour. It's very, very, very slow to us, but it's very creepy as a couple inches of teeth running at you. Sun spider they get that name from hiding from the sun. They don't like the sun. They end up in caves. They're in the desert. They're under rocks. These guys will come out. They don't make noise. There's a lot of mythology that goes with this one. People in a desert will say they've put on their jacket and it's sitting on the back of their jacket. And they hear a screaming noise. It's not this guy. It's probably himself screaming because he's seen this guy on his jacket. These guys are definitely going to run away before they do anything, but they'll overwinter as this stage. Their younger stages just look like smaller ones of them, and they will be in debris. They're probably going to try to get into your house if they can, just to keep that warmth. But it's quite dry inside people's houses, so they don't tend to last long if they do go. On to our favorite, scorpions. We all kind of have a love-hate relationship with scorpions here in Texas. There are 1,500 species worldwide, but only a few of them are medically significant, and fewer are here in North America. Centroides is probably the most common scorpion that we will come up and see in the outdoors. They do try to come inside your house as well, quite a bit actually. They're just hunters. They're out looking for food. They're eating your spiders. They're eating your silverfish, anything that you have that you don't want. These guys are helping you out. They're the bark scorpions, probably about 1 inch to 2 inches. Some people see them as larger, and sometimes they get larger. There's always exceptions. This top right photo here is how mommies will carry their babies. So they carry them around until they harden up, and then they get out before they're about snack size and they start going as well. And they're again found all over Texas. The Diplocentris whitei over here on the bottom right, the darker looking scorpion, that's called the Big Bend scorpion. So they are present in and around Big Bend, and you have multiple species over there. So don't be afraid. If you are out for a night hike, take a black light with you. These guys are really cool. They shine under the UV light. I was out over in Seminole Canyon the other week and this last weekend, and we were out looking for some good stuff, but came up empty-handed, so I don't have any good photos for you. Sorry. They do hibernate in winter in cracks as this stage as adults. So they'll be in cracks, crevices, under rocks and dens. So if you're out looking for firewood, if you're out hunting or hiking or anything like that, just be mindful of where you're putting your hands. It's not just snakes that you're worried about. In the winter, it's going to be these guys, and if anything, they'll just give you a little bit of a fright over a snake fang to the finger or something. Spiders and Opiliones. These guys are great. Everybody loves a spider. So there are about 45,000 known species of spiders around. Our largest here in Texas is the Texas brown. On the right, there's a picture of a tarantula from Big Bend that Dr. Fonkin took while he was over there. He just saw it out hiking around. They're pretty cool. The males are usually the wanderers. The females kind of hang out in their dens that just look like a little bit of maybe like a silver dollar hole in the ground. And you'll see a bit of webbing, not quite as much as that top photo. But she waits around, she gets her food, she gets her mate, and that's where she'll live. They're a little bit longer lives. I think there was one in WA that was about 20 in Western Australia. So that's pretty cool. But in the wild here, they usually live about 3 years. Could be a fight, could be scorpion, could be bird. Everybody wants a piece. Could be just smashed on the road. So we do have a lot of different unique species of spiders. So we've got the giant guys over here, Fuzzy. If this tarantula wanted to warn you to get away, he might kick his hind legs, the back 2 legs at you. And that's releasing urticating hairs. Some people think otherwise he's going to stare straight at you and lift his 4 front legs and show you the business. And if you just still don't get away, it just turns into a staring contest, and he hangs out, you hang out. It's at that moment who's gonna last. But they're docile. They're fairly docile. Nobody wants to tag anybody on purpose. The wolf spiders are probably what you'll see out most, especially at night. If you shine your light around at night and you see all these glowing eyes at you, it's usually those guys just hanging out, hunting, doing what they do. Another unique species we have is the lynx spider, another family, sorry, the lynx, and they have their legs look like little bitty cactus legs. They need to go to the groomers. And we do have some medically significant species here in Texas. We do have a brown recluse. We do have black widows. They are found in the area of Big Bend as well. And possibly the brown widow is also present. I know they are here in Texas. I'm just not certain if they've made it over to the Big Bend area. But the brown widow is not a mate of the brown recluse and the black widow, it's actually a Latrodecta species, geometricus. It's an import. They've come in, they're introduced. Their egg sac looks a lot like the black widow, which is just a smooth, regular looking egg case, except it looks like it's the sea mine. It's got these spikes all over it. It's pretty telling. Opiliones, I put them in with the spiders just because I wanted to say they're not spiders. They are daddy long legs. They're the harvestmen. They're not spiders. They're not venomous at all. So almost all families of spiders are venomous. They produce a venom. Again, we only have those few medically significant spiders. But Opiliones, there's a big myth that goes along with that guy. Daddy long legs are the most venomous spider, but they don't have the mouth to bite you, and they actually don't have venom. So, but they eat just about anything that they can get their little paws on, and they're pretty cool, and they're pretty active as well. Daddy long legs will walk a trail with you and take strides with you. Onto ticks and mites. You can see there's that top photo there. Is a red velvet, Texas bug, red bug, harvest bug. It goes by many names. It's Trumbiculidae is the family name. It's a large red velvet mite. Their larval form is the chigger. Everybody loves to hate. In other areas, it is capable of transmitting pathogens. So it's always good to kind of protect your legs when you're around. Here in Texas, we do not have Tsutsugamushi, so there's no pathogen here that they get. They're just very, very annoying. Mites can stay active year round in warmer areas, so like Texas. Otherwise, the adult stages will remain under debris and soil for the coldest months. So you might see them in leaf litter, under tree stumps, that kind of stuff. And our ticks, so all these big guys over here, all the ticks, they're still active. They hang out with their hosts. They can take multiple hosts. They drop off. They hang out in the soil as well. And that's how they'll survive winter. There's hard ticks and there are soft ticks. So the hard ticks are Ixodidae and the soft ticks are Argacidae. Soft ticks are also capable of transmitting pathogens as well, but they're a little bit different feeders. Hard ticks, like in this photo, you'll find them attached to you if they're going to be attached to you, and you find them in a normal time period, I suppose. Whereas soft ticks, they kind of take a quick meal and they go and they hide, and they're associated with caves, and they're very elusive. A lot of people have never seen a soft tick. I've never seen one in the wild. I'm not overly hurt about that. But these guys will be around, these hard ticks. You'll find them on you. And if you do, there's a program at the Department of State Health Services. On the website, you can submit a tick that's been attached to you. So if you do find one attached and you're curious, like, what is it? What if it has Lyme disease? What if it has this? You can take it off, send it in to DSHS, and they'll ID it for you and send it off for testing at the University of North Texas. And you'll get a call back. They tested for several pathogens, Rickettsias and Borrelias, which is Lyme disease. And these species here are all present in Big Bend. So in the summertime, which you probably won't be overly worried about, are the amblyomas. Amblyoma americanum, that's the Lone Star tick. That's that tick right in the middle here with the little lone star, if you will. She's capable of transmitting disease, as well as these guys over here. This is Amblyoma maculatum in the hand on the right-hand side, upper right. And here you can see there's a female, there's a male, and there's an engorged female. And they are present as well. The American dog tick, Dermacentor variabilis, present, capable of transmission. And this, what's important with the black-legged deer ticks is the time period of when someone might be going over to the park. So they're more active in the cooler months, or at least that's what we found from like a passive surveillance program where people do submit tick encounters. So these Ixodes scapularis transmit Borrelia burgdorferi. And there's a little bit of research going on with Western fence lizards. If you've heard about it, it's really cool. If these ticks attach to a Western fence lizard and have Borrelia, there's a content of the blood of the lizard that's kind of like a bactericide, if you will. There's less transmission of Borrelia, excuse me, after this tick feeds on a Western fence lizard. So that's pretty cool research going on right there. But these ticks will be submitted around November through early spring, so probably March and stuff. On to the next bit here, we've got insects. We all love insects. They make the world go round. Here in the spring, temperature is going to be right. It's going to be a little bit high, not too hot, because if it gets too hot, these guys aren't going to move either. So if it's too cold, if it's too hot, they're really picky. They like it right there in the middle. So the spring, everything's green, everything's flowering. You've got ants and bees hanging out. You've got these grasshoppers again. Once you go into the fall, you start getting some of the rocky stuff. Velvet ants here, which are actually wasps. They're just wingless. If you do see one of these guys with wings, it's a male and therefore it won't have a stinger. Because the stinger is a modified ovipositor. So only these females that are wingless can sting you, and they hurt. Tiger beetles, very cool. They'll walk with you down a path. They just fly up a few feet, give you a little bit of a head start, and then they just continue to follow you on. What's cool about these tiger beetles, their larvae are in the ground. They're really long and flat. And there's a hole, hole in the ground, and they're kind of sitting down there like a little bit of a monster, waiting. But they're pretty regionally challenged. They're only in very particular regions, and you'll have different species that only appear in very small, like 1 mile by 1 mile niches. So they're really cool. Crabids. They're crabids now. Cicindelids. And then you start going to the fall, everything kind of dries up and you're stuck with now just flies. And the last little bit of flowering out, you've got the little stragglers of the moths trying to come in and get their last bit of meals. And up top here, you've got termite tubes. That tells you there's termites in the area and they want to feed, but they have to come out. They don't like the weather. So here again, winter activity of what are you going to find out on the trails right now? So this is me out in Seminole Canyon. It's not Big Bend, but it'll do in a pinch. This is what I found. Right before the big winds started blowing my tent over and disintegrating it, I could hear a lot of mosquitoes in my ear. I went out for a walk. All we had were these ants, these very slow moving ants. So again, temperature went down, their movement went down. They're just slowly coming out, looking to see if there's anything to forage, which there was very little. And then over here on the left, you've got these termite tubes. Termites are pretty delicate little guys, if you will. They can't really tolerate the dryness of the cooler weather. They don't like the temperature. They don't want to be eaten, all that good stuff. So what they do is they build these tubes outside, made of their own feces and dirt around, and they kind of just paste them together. So they're free moving within these tubes, and you'll see a lot of really elaborate tube villages, if you will, with during these grass and trees and such. So that's one way. They're out there and roughing it in the trails. Most insects are going to try to find an overwintering microhabitat, and that just might be your habitat. So they're coming inside, especially wasps. You'll see them start to fly around eaves, trying to get away from the cold, the wind, all that stuff. And when you see wasps and they've got this paper nest, they will defend them. And that's when you're going to get stung. If you see a wasp and they're foraging, they're not there to defend anything. You don't have to run, you don't have to spray with anything. They're likely just going to keep moving on, doing their business. They don't get defensive in that situation. It's here when you're standing there and yelling and waving your hands around, is when you're going to get stung. And when you do, of course, some people do have reactions. Otherwise, it's just a little bit of swelling, and that kind of stuff. If you can't leave them, because they do tend to move on in the next season. If you can't leave them alone, if they are at like your front door or something, then you might have to use a knockdown spray. I tend to just leave them. We do like them. They get a little bit of a naughty reputation, but they're just doing what they do as well. This big picture here in the middle, triatomine, this guy, they are present over in Big Bend area. They are present all around Texas. Again, there is another surveillance program that the state works with, where you can submit these insects here, these bugs. You can actually call this guy a bug because he is hemiptera. You can submit those and they'll be identified, and they will be tested at CDC for a parasite called Trypanosoma cruzi, which is now here in Texas quite frequently. These insects are active during the winter, more likely. So they're feeding off their hosts. So they're more likely going to be in like a dog shelter. If you're in a cabin, cracks and crevices, they'll come in, they'll feed on you, but that's not how they're transmitting this pathogen. That parasite is transmitted in their feces. So you do want to kind of clean up a bit. Don't scratch your wounds before cleaning it. That's how you infect yourself. And they are around. They do happen to be around. There are a few species out here. This, I believe, is Gerstackeri. They are here. Here on the left are the mud daubers. They'll also be coming in. These guys are really cool. They're not social. They're solitary, which is why everybody says they won't sting you. They don't sting. It is possible for them to sting you. They're female Hymenoptera, so they do have that stinger. What they don't have is the defensive style that the paper wasps over here on the right have. She might dive bomb you. She can't sting you. She's very likely just going to leave her eggs up there with some food and bring over food and be done with it. She might put egg after egg after egg, so they look like it looks like a pan flute. They could look like little mason balls. They're mason wasps. They'll be in mud daubers. They'll have many different shapes of their little egg cases. Here on the bottom is I put a tabanus in. They'll go away mostly for the winter. They'll hang out in stables. Their larval form is in manure, is really how they kind of overcome weather. But there are cluster flies that come into the house. There are the biting muscids, stomoxys will come into the house and hang out with you. So they want to come into your house. They'll likely be more in the garage or a shed over your house, because your house is going to be really dry. And insects don't fare well with desiccation. We spoke earlier about caterpillars. It will likely turn into like a unassuming, very cute flannel moth or the likes. This is an asp here in Texas. We'll call them asps. It has urticating hairs down the back underneath all this cute little fuzzy stuff, and it will burn you. These guys are very painful. You have to watch where you put your hands if it's not a frequented area. Chairs, check under chairs before you sit down. If it's a cabin, check sills, that kind of stuff. Same thing you do, excuse me, for really anything around. But these guys do have urticating hairs. They will cause damage to your skin. It's painful. It makes you unhappy. A little bit of ice on it, and you're gold, but it's gonna last for a while. It's gonna throb. No one's gonna like it. I think that's about all I have for anything. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer all of them. If anybody does go out and has a question about what they're seeing at that time, this is my email address at work, and this is my work cell phone. If you do get some good stuff, flash me a picture. I'm always happy to answer any questions at all, anytime. I'm a big fan. I see there's a raised hand.
Yes, my name is Susan Cooper. Can you hear me?
I can. Hello.
All right. Yes. Usually it happens in April. A few stray wasps will come into my house. And this scares me because I react very badly to insect stings. What do I do? What do I do to prevent it? And what do I do to get rid of the ones that are in my home?
The ones that are already inside your home, that's a good point. If I don't know how you guys feel about chemical control. I try to keep it to necessity only. But if they're already inside your home, you're mostly going to have to probably use a knockdown spray. Unfortunately, if you do have soap and water and a spray bottle that sprays quite far, that works. It doesn't work as well. So if you do respond poorly to stings, which tends to build up in you, and you get worse and worse, then I don't recommend the soap and water. I would call somebody to come get them out. But you can put a general spray outside on your eaves and just kind of keep it there. They will land on it, and hopefully at that point it will penetrate their exoskeleton and they'll die off that way. You can put, a lot of people say bags of water and that scares them off, or flies, that kind of stuff. There are a few natural oils that you can spray out, I've heard, like a lemongrass kind of thing. I can look more into that for a more botanical option if that helps. But if they're already in the house, I think you're past the point of a try, and you just need to smash them at that point, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I have a question. I'd like to piggyback on what she asked. This is Renee. Is there possibly something that attracts them to come into one home more than another?
It's going to be shelter over anything. So if you have like the corner lots and you get all the sunshine and goodness, but you also have maybe a corner that pops out so it blocks the wind from the east or what have you, then that's going to be more optimal than the other. Insects are also very lazy. So if you do have nice food of nice food source available, they eat spiders, they eat small insects, then they're also not going to fly very far. They're very frugal with their energy, because they have to get that energy. It takes energy to get that energy, so they have to go find their nectar, their pollen, their spiders, their grasshoppers, all the good things that they do need.
Leanne, this is Dan. You showed a picture of of a bug, I believe it was a bug, that you said we could transmit a trypanosome. Yeah, you just had it there. You went past it right there. Is that a kissing bug?
That is a kissing bug. So there's lots of names that this guy goes by. Kissing bug, Vinchuca, Rejuvenated, assassin.
Does
Yes.
the trypanosome cause Chagas disease or what disease?
Yes. So Chagas disease is the disease. Yep.
Known as kissing bug disease.
I've heard of as American trypanosomiasis.
Can you tell, what are the symptoms?
So there's a lot. This one's I'll try to it's quite yes, symptoms. If you have the acute stage, there are two stages, acute and chronic. If acute stage, you'll start general malaise, that kind of stuff. It's considered a wasting disease, Chagas disease. You start having pain, malaise. You need to get tested if you do come into contact. Sometimes you don't even know you have Chagas disease or the parasite itself. You could go decades without having anything, and then all of a sudden you have these really life-threatening situations. So what happens on the lesser spectrum is general malaise. You're a little bit tired. On the other side, it's your body working overtime. The cells start creating these mega organs, and your body just basically overworks itself. It's trying to keep these mega organs going, and then it just peters out. But that's that's the very worst of it. You can have Chagas disease and not know. You could live your life with Chagas disease and never know. They've caught a lot of our Texas cases through blood banks. So they screen at blood banks and organ donations, that kind of stuff. That's how it was spreading. Charles Darwin had it. He wrote about Vinchuca and how it was very sweet and bit him. You get on occasion, there's a sign called Romagn's sign. They like to bite your lips because it's nice and soft and it's exposed, and they bite your eye. So if you get a swelling around your eye, they've called that Romagn's sign.
Okay, my last question is, how prevalent is both malaria and yellow fever in the Houston area?
There are a few cases that come in and they're definitely travel related. I know I keep crossing my fingers. I used to work in a malarious area in Papua New Guinea. So I keep my eye open. We have malaria vectors here in Houston area. We do not have the parasites unless it's a travel associated case. So they do pop up every once in a while. I believe there are a couple that have come up this year.
What about yellow fever?
Yellow fever I haven't seen, not this year anyway. We do, of course, we have that vector as well, and there's also vaccinations. So if there were cases, I can't think off the top of my head if I can remember a yellow fever case here recently. But if they are coming in, it's travel associated. There's nothing here locally transmitted, but possibility. We do have the vectors, Aedes aegypti, Aedes albopictus.
I think Lori has a question.
Hi, this is Lori. I was wondering, we had a praying mantis in our bush near our window for about a month, and then that cold snap hit a couple of days ago, and he's gone. We can't seem to find it. Do they hibernate during the winter?
So they can, if they can survive it in kind of a sheltered area, they will. But most likely for praying mantids, they do like to leave. And if you go outside and look, it's their ootheca, it's their egg case. It looks a little bit like this ass picture here on the bottom left, but it's not fuzzy. So so if you go outside and you see something that looks like a little square, about the size of your thumbnail, that will be an ootheca. which is the egg case of the praying mantis, and that's how they'll overwinter. So what she could have done is went off and found a mate and left an egg case, and then died herself, or she could have just found shelter and nearby and might just pop back up.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Are there other questions for Leanne?
Oh, Alan had a question on the chat box. He asked if your observations, do you put them on iNaturalist? And if so, what is your username so that you can be followed there?
I've tried iNaturalist. I do need to get into it. I think my name is Mr. Coffee. And I will start putting my observations in because I take pictures of everything. And if I don't know what it is, then I always try to ask somebody, and there's always somebody that knows more than I.
Leanne, can you tell us about your job? I mean, this
Sure.
is obviously sort of a hobby, but professional also. Can you tell us what you do?
Sure. So the regional medical entomologist here for the state. I am in the Houston area. I can travel to other regions, but they've housed me out here, which is okay. What I do is I can help communities with their trapping efforts, surveillance of vectors in areas where they need it. So there's a project going on right now here in this region, which is the Houston area. Houston has an amazing vector control area program. They do a lot of really great stuff. So there are some surrounding communities that don't know how to do surveillance, and they're just spraying. And we're trying to get away from communities just throwing chemical out willy-nilly, and push them towards more of a surveillance program. So what I do is I go out and I talk about surveillance, mosquito surveillance, tick surveillance, whatever surveillance they need to do. If it's disease associated, then I try to help them prepare to do that. And then I suppose there's a few other odds and ends.
Like West Nile, if there's a West Nile outbreak,
Right,
you would go in.
Right. So after a weather event, if we had a big storm like Ike or Harvey that came in again, those would be more tailored towards nuisance mosquitoes. They don't generally transmit. They can transmit disease. They're unlikely to transmit anything significant, but they're more for, I guess, the infrastructure, people trying to get the communities back up and running, but can't because they're 20 feet up in a cherry picker and they're swatting stuff around. So we do a lot of surveillance in that situation. But if there's a West Nile outbreak, if there's some cases around, Eastern equine has popped up. I don't know if anybody is a horse lover. If you have a horse, Eastern equine encephalitis is here in Texas. A lot of people didn't know that it does cross that Mississippi. It doesn't generally, but there are more cases popping up. So it is present here in Texas. That's a good one to vaccinate for. A lot of people didn't know that you could for your horses. You cannot vaccinate yourself for it. We don't have many vaccinations for anything here in North America for humans available to us. Lots of dengue cases and typhus cases around as well that we'll do surveillance with. So we'll look for fleas and that kind of stuff.
Who else do we have in chat, John?
I think that was it. I did have a question myself, and that has to do with, you mentioned, checking for West Nile. And whenever, I know in our area, whenever there is a West Nile detected in their traps, they go around and they spray in order to kill the mosquitoes. And a couple of things, it bothers me because a lot of very innocent insects that are very, very important get killed by this spraying. And I've also understand, correctly or incorrectly, that the spraying really doesn't affect the mosquitoes as much as it's purported to do. Can you comment about that?
I can comment. It'll be my comment and not the state of Texas's comment.
Okay.
There is research that shows non-targets at the time of spraying. So when responsible programs go out and spray after there is a disease ticked, if there's an event, they do tend to target that specific species of vector. So if it's 80s, then they'll go a little bit earlier during the day, but they do have to wait for this temperature change. So for West Nile, you're looking for Culex quinquefasciatus. These guys are everywhere all the time. They're activity crepuscular, so they are coming out right at dusk and dawn. They don't mind biting if aroused out of their hidey hole either. So when they come out and spray, the team should be temperature inversion, a ton whenever they can.
And I'm sorry, you're breaking up and we're really missing a lot of what you're saying.
That is less of an effort, I suppose. Could be missing, I guess, the majority of that population. They're also doing that spray, or they should be doing along with that spray, is they're going and they're inspecting the area that they found that, and they're trying to larval habitat.
Leanne, you're echoing and breaking up a little bit. A lot of us missed quite a bit of what you said.
Leanne, can you hear us?
I think we lost Lee.
I think we lost y'all.
Yeah, well, she won't be the only speaker we've lost, so tell her thank you.
I
Yeah.
will. I think we lost her though.
I think we did. Well, does anybody want to comment about spraying? Maybe they know.
Yeah, I'd like to comment about spraying.
Yeah.
When you see mosquito fogger going down a residential street during the day, that's not for mosquitoes, that's for people.
To look at it, to see
What?
it.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
a
I know what
public
you're saying.
relations tactic.
Well,
They
and
don't really think they're killing a lot of mosquitoes.
okay. Well, if they go around at night, what are they doing? That it's always bothered me
Well,
because I understand that, especially from point of view of beneficial insects, butterflies, bees, native bees, they are hanging out and they're the ones that are getting killed by this spray.
Well, like Leanne said, if you have a reason to be spraying a particular disease, then you're looking at a particular mosquito vector, then you have to tailor what you're doing to the activities and the life habits of that particular vector. So at night, maybe, it depends, you know. But they're not breeding on residential streets. I mean, you'll have a little bit of mosquito breeding in gutters and standing water in your backyard and so on. But the major breeding areas are wetlands and wet areas, water areas. You
I
know,
really wanted-
mosquito larvae are aquatic,
Right.
all of them. They live in the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
One thing
I
she
just
also
got a-
mentioned.
Excuse me, I just got a text from Leanne and she said she's not able to get back on. I told her, thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, the comment I wanted to ask her about was about wasps, because we had a neighbor lives maybe a mile from us, and he was bragging about the fact that he had, oops, she's coming back in. she was bragging about the fact that over the last several months, he'd killed in his yard about 400 wasps. And I wanted to find out, okay, you live on a normal residential area, suburb home. How in the heck do you get 400 wasps?
Oh, that's scary.
And I was
Well,
going,
I don't know how many wasps can live in those. Have you ever seen those big paper wasp nests that are about the
Oh, yeah.
size of a soccer ball or bigger?
I haven't seen them that big, but I mean, this is over a long period of time, several weeks,
I don't-
killing a
I don't
10.
know.
I'm going,
That's all right.
You probably have to ask him.
He probably has an EPA Superfund site now.
Well, I'm thinking, all those wasps, they're not killing the harmful insects. So what is he doing about those now?
I think she's back on if you want to ask her that last question before we
Yeah,
close
she's
out.
back. Unmute yourself, Leanne.
Hiya,
There she
sorry.
is.
Oh, you're much clearer now.
There you
Oh.
go, John. Ask Leanne.
Yes, back to wasps.
Ah, righto.
Have a friend who lives, I'm in Plano, and he lives about maybe a half a mile from me. And over the last several months, he was killing wasps, I mean, almost on a daily basis. And he was counting them, and he was up to over 400 in his single suburb home. And I'm wondering, how in the heck do you get 400 wasps? Because it boggled my mind. I see maybe a dozen around my house at any one time.
Yeah. Were they just coming in the house, or were they?
Oh, no, these are outside.
These are outside. So there might be an underground swarm, or like a what's the word now? I'm all shoveled.
Like a ground nest.
Yes, thank you. Like nest, like a ground nest. And they'll be around dead logs, or even just in the ground itself. Sometimes you won't see them in trees, but wasps can definitely get huge. There's pictures of some in old buildings that are never used, like sheds, or inside walls even. You can definitely get 400 wasps that way. He might want to check the exterior of I mean, I'm sure he knows what's going on there, but if it is prominent, then I would go with a ground nest.
Well, I think it had to do with the palm trees that were dead in his yard, because the big freeze killed a huge number of palms. So I'm thinking they were in the leaves that had come down, folded down.
Yes, I've seen some very huge vespids that created dead palm. Dead palms are apparently the mansions for Vespidi. So I bet that would be it.
Yeah, but hey, Leanne, but certainly all wasps are not created equally bad. John,
Right.
I would be interested to see what kind of wasp he's killing. I have a ground nest in a Mexican bush sage, and they've been very happy for the last month, with all the flowering, but they
Right.
leave me alone. I just walk right past them. They are not interested in me. Now, if those were yellow jackets, or what I call Texas reds, Leanne, what are those? What are red wasps? What's their technical name?
The hornets, the red hornets.
No, not hornets, just the red wasp. They're slightly bigger than a yellow jacket, and they hurt like the devil.
The Polistes. So Polistes to me are more, and there's one with an R, Rhopalidia. Polistes and Rhopalidia are probably the more active stingy guys, if you will. They come out, they're a little bit thinner. Polistes are variable in size. Rhopalidias are a little bit smaller, but they'll just come out of nowhere. You won't see them, and you'll have one stinging your hand, and you were just walking along. But what you've done there is you've encroached into her space. So
Mhm.
she's only going to defend what she's around if it's her nest. If she's just out foraging, she's unlikely to even care about your existence. There are a few species, Vespa. There's a Vespa species out there. They're giant, they're black, they look scary as all get out. But you can walk straight up to their nest and they'll just come to you. They're about the size of your middle of your pinky finger, and they'll just come to you like, "What are you doing?" Whereas if you do get these yellow jackets, these Polistes, they'll be carrying you over and beating you up as they take you out.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
have your friend send a corpse picture to Leanne. He's probably killed 400, beneficial wasps.
Well,
They
I'll have to
better
go
not
out
be
to-
mud daubers.
No, they're not mud
Okay.
daubers, definitely not. Because he posted a lot of pictures. He was posting them as he was going. He was bragging.
Jeez.
Yes, send me a photo if you want. I'm happy to have a look.
Okay, I'll have to look through and find him.
All right, well, let's have maybe one more question before we wrap this up. I see Susan Cooper's hand is up again. Go ahead, Susan. Susan Cooper, do you want to ask a question?
I think she was still had her hand up from the first question.
Okay, well, are there any other questions or is that about it for tonight?
I would like
Okay.
to thank Leanne for her presentation and
Mhm.
for the volume of information that she had. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks for having
thanks a
me.
lot. It was very interesting, Leanne.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you.
and it's very
Okay.
appropriate for the Big Bend trip coming up.
John, can you leave us hooked up if anybody wants to
I
stay
will.
on?
Yes, I will.
Thank
Okay, so
you.
if you want to stick around and talk to somebody about something, John has graciously said he will not shut down the meeting. But at this point, I bid you all adieu. And thanks for showing up. Thanks for hosting, John. Thanks, Leanne, for
You-
Bye,
your-
Chris and
your
Dick.
talk. So
Take care.
good night, everybody.
Good night.
Right.
And I'll be here
Thank you.
to the bitter end.
So, hey, so Liz, I think we just lost Mark too. Did you just get 5 cancellations from the Big Bend trip?
Every time she said Big Bang, I'm thinking, oh, we've got some people that may not like that, but that's okay.
You're going in what, February?
We're going in February.
You're not going to have much in the way of insect problems, I wouldn't
Yeah.
imagine.
Not too many.
Maybe
And-
snow.
Depends.
And totally unrelated, but if anybody knows how I can lighten my screen, let me know. Is it just the light in the room? Because I have a light over me, a ceiling light. So
It
I
may
just
be,
don't know, is it something I can adjust on my computer or is it just the room light?
it might, I'd try to get a strong light in front of you just to see.
Because it's slightly dim behind
Is what?
you. I can see you clearly, but it's dim behind.
Yeah, I've got a ceiling kind of a thing in my bedroom, so I don't have a lot of control over it. But anyway, that's fine. I just didn't know if there was something I was missing on the laptop.
Yeah, we thought it was mood lighting, Liz.
Oh, it is. Yeah. See, this is my high five, if you can see behind me. You have to see him.
We can't,
Oh, yeah.
He's Thomas Mangelson,
Oh,
who's
he's
the
good.
professional guy out of Jackson, who was the one that had the picture on, I think, National Geographic, that was the bear leaning over to capture the salmon in his mouth.
Yeah.
That's with Thomas Mangelson's. a
Yeah.
wonderful- I got that as a gift. So
Oh, that's
that's
nice.
my high five. Yay. He makes me
Okay.
smile. It's his first time up out of his den as a little cub.
I see we have Lorenzo for Texas Rep.
Yes, he is
Lorenzo,
there.
are you with us?
He's muted.
He's muted, but we're glad he's here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's running for, I forget which House district up here in Collin County.
I can't read it.
It looks like
H-
70. House
70 or
District 70,
75.
Ooh.
Yeah.
70.
We
I know
have Gail, we
currently
have Lee.
7-0 runs the border
We
of
have
Collin
Michael
County
Button.
from west to north to east to south. It's
Yeah.
like a hook. shaped. It was before. I don't know what it is now.
Well, I'm sure there was no gerrymandering involved in that.
Oh, no.
And Gail, thank you for bringing some Christmas decorations to our meeting.
Oh, that's right. I see him back there.
I
Thank you,
know.
Gail.
I like it.
Yes.
Hi,
Hey,
Rahan.
this is Rehan. I just want to let you know, my wife went to Walmart today. She bought a small ointment, and the packaging was so big, all the plastic. I had a hard time to get that out. So I called Walmart today.
Yeah.
I said that why your packaging is so big, and this is not right. So they got the UPC number, I believe, and the supplier number. So I gave them my email address. I said I need an answer. I just thought I'll let you know. We need to put pressure on this Walmart, and their packaging is so big.
Mhm.
Rahan, it
I
is
thought I'll let
everybody.
you know.
Chris got a tube this big
Yeah.
of some makeup from Dillard's. The package is 5 inches tall. It was about 2.5 feet long, and it was 1.5 feet wide for a tube this big. That
Oh
was
my
all that was in
gosh.
there. I mean, you're right. Packaging is just absolutely
Yeah,
horrible
that's
to waste.
yeah, it's a worldwide problem. The
Yeah.
only thing I've ever heard from a retailer is that they do it to prevent shoplifting. That's the only reason I've ever been given, because
Something mailed.
otherwise it's just a waste.
Or
No,
to
this
get the
is
attention
mailed.
on the shelf.
This is something that was shipped.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm talking about when they make it,
Oh, yeah.
they're thinking like a Walmart is so big, but Walmart's got Rahan, that's Walmart has the power. They literally, they have the power to tell their manufacturers exactly what they want. I mean, they're that strong, you know.
Good for
Yeah,
you for doing that, for
Yeah,
taking the
thank
time.
you.
I know there's
The fu-
some like saltine crackers and Honey Made graham crackers and some of those that they changed. Instead of 16 ounces, they go to say 14 ounces. Instead of raising the price, they just reduced this amount that's in the box.
Oh,
They
yeah.
kept the box, the packaging the same size, so it didn't look like it had changed. And those are
That-
the ones I knew of, but I understood and looked, I asked questions about that a couple of years ago somewhere, and they gradually, it's like now you buy the cans of pumpkin to make pumpkin pie and things, and they're 15 ounces, not 16 ounces.
They
Oh, yeah,
have been
that-
doing that for 2 decades. I
Yes.
noticed
Yeah.
that way back. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're just gradually doing that.
I
So,
think with the makeup, they're trying to make sure it doesn't get wet or it doesn't, but there ought to be a better way than 2 feet of tubing and, for a compact. This probably was a tube. If you ever get a compact of,
It was in
No.
a box. If it could have gotten easily wet. I mean, I'm not going to go on about this.
so
It
that's
was
not
just-
it.
I know it was just a total waste.
so this was a mailing box that they sent.
It was a
in?
mail that came by UPS.
Oh, yeah, they probably just didn't have any boxes that small, and
Yeah,
I know
that's
there's
true.
certain size boxes that have not been
God.
available. I tried to go like gift bags. There's certain gift bag sizes that have not
Yeah.
been available. We were 3 weeks late in getting our Christmas wrap at the store. Because of just the supply things.
Yeah, it could be, but I think it's been going on because I've noticed it. Other stuff that gets shipped here,
Could be,
same
yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Rehan, that is a great idea to actually get in touch with the
Absolutely.
retailer
Tell them
and
that's
Good
not
for you.
say,
acceptable.
why are you doing this?
Yeah. Now, I will tell you an industry that has actually responded to this problem better probably than any other industry. And believe it or not, it's the fast food industry. You
Mhm.
know, the huge companies like McDonald's, Taco Bell, etc. If you'll pay attention to it, they're different than they were even say 2 years ago. They are much more of cardboard instead of styrofoam.
Mhm.
They actually, because they have an association that people actually pay attention to. But in general, Americans we're packaging crazy, just like we're plastic crazy, plastic bag crazy. And of course, all ends up in the landfill.
It
Yeah.
does? Oh, no.
No, of course
Not a
not.
problem.
Thanks, everyone. My little timer just went off on
All
my
right.
toaster oven for my
Thank you.
dinner.
All right.
Well, give
Okay,
me a
let's see.
call. You can call me even after this call if you want.
Yeah. And Renee, we'll set up a time. We'll set up a time to get together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody. Good
Okay, good
night.
night.
Well, good
Good to
night.
see you.
Good to
Thanks
see
again,
you.
Wendell, for all the package or the wrap.
All the packaging. Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Good night. Good night. Okay.